Hi, today we're going to be focusing on one of the most important factions in the vast expanse of the galaxy, where civilizations have risen and fallen amidst the ebb and flow of time. One institution has stood as the bulwark against the ever-encroaching darkness, the Astra Militarum, or more commonly known as the Imperial Guard. This formidable force represents the mightiest military arm of the Imperium of Man, and serves as a steadfast shield and spear for humanity's defense in the tumultuous 41st millennium. This organization is comprised of billions upon billions of valiant souls, hailing from nigh infinite backgrounds and worlds, as the Astra Militarum boasts an impressive, nigh unending array of regiments, each distinguished by its own storied history and battle honors. These brave men and women, supported by a formidable arsenal of both light and heavily armed vehicles, stand ready to confront the myriad of threats that beset the Imperium on all fronts. When planetary defense forces falter in the face of the near-infinite enemies of the Imperium, it is the Astra Militarum who will swiftly answer the call of duty, deploying with unmatched speed and ferocity, in order to stem the tide of chaos and devastation from besieging the dominions of humanity. From the hallowed halls of Terra to the furthest reaches of the galaxy, the Imperial Guard will hold the line against the relentless onslaught of heretics, xenos, and demons, ensuring that the flame of humanity's civilization continues to burn bright amidst the infinite darkness of the void. At the very heart of the Astra Militarum's strategy lies the principle of overwhelming force. With their vast numbers and devastating firepower, the Astra Militarum seek to crush their enemies beneath the weight of their inexorable advance, raining down an almost unending stream of death and destruction upon any and all who dare oppose the will of the God Emperor. Supported by legions of heavy armor and thundering artillery, they form an indomitable bulwark against which no force may truly prosper. Yet, for all their might and martial prowess, the Astra Militarum is not without its flaws, often seeming as if they lack the precision and finesse of their esteemed brethren, the Space Marines of the Adeptus Astartes. This is because they primarily rely on sheer brute force and weight of numbers in order to achieve victory on the battlefield. And while their courage and determination is far beyond question, there are those who whisper of dissent and corruption lurking within their ranks, casting doubt upon the purity of their purpose and the righteousness of their cause. In the weight of such scrutiny, it falls on the commissars in order to maintain discipline amongst their ranks, rooting out any signs of heresy or sedition with ruthless efficiency. Clad in iconic uniforms, these stern-faced officers enforce standards and are constant enforcers of the Imperium's uncompromising will, ready to dole out justice to any of those who dare betray the Emperor and his holy domain. To better understand the Astra Militarum, we have to roll back the clock of galactic history and trace their origins to the epoch known as the Great Crusade, which was a monumental undertaking by the Emperor of Mankind during the late 30th millennium. At the forefront of this grand campaign were the legendary Space Marine legions, elite warriors of unparalleled skill and valor, each embodying strength far outclassing the strength of a dozen ordinary men. However, even the might of the Space Marines, in their much greater numbers, could not be everywhere at once. As the Imperium expanded across the stars, their forces became increasingly scattered and thinly spread. Recognizing the need for additional manpower to sustain its momentum, the Emperor sanctioned the creation of the Imperial Army, known in High Gothic at the time as the Imperialis Auxilia. At that time, the Imperial Army would stand as a bulwark against the darkness, marshalling vast legions of brave soldiers with technology that at times was more advanced than the current weaponry used by the Space Marines, along with formidable armored divisions and imposing fleets of ships. They would all pledge their service to the Imperium and the God Emperor's design. Initially, they were only tasked with garrison duties and pacification campaigns. However, thanks to being so exemplary in their service, due to how well they overperformed, they would find themselves thrust into the forefront of the crusade and spearheading the Emperor's relentless advance. But the furthest back the roots of the Imperial army can be traced are to Terra itself, where the remnants of the Strife-era military formations could be found. Known as the Old 100, these were individuals who continued to serve the Emperor following the Unification Wars. These stalwart units formed the nucleus of what would become the fledgling Imperial army, embodying the martial traditions of mankind's distant past. And as the Great Crusade swept across the galaxy, the Emperor decreed that conquered worlds must maintain their own defenses, which would be proto-versions of the planetary defense forces, which are standard millennia later. And it would be from these local militias that the earliest hints of the modern Imperial army would be drawn from, and become the vanguard of the Imperium's expansionist zeal. Yet the very subordination of the Imperial army to the Astartes legions would sow the seeds of its eventual downfall, in particular during the crucible known as the Horus Heresy, when brother turned against brother, and the galaxy trembled on the edge of utter annihilation. The loyalty of the Imperial army was at times tested, and unfortunately, not all passed, as thousands of commanders would defy their oaths of allegiance, carving out fiefdoms of their own amidst the chaos of war and rebellion. Some would even side with Horus Lupercal and the traitorous Primarchs. In the wake of this cataclysmic betrayal, the Imperium would undergo profound reforms, not only restructuring the Adeptus Astartes, but restructuring all its armed forces in order to prevent any singular individual from wielding unchecked power. Thus, the Imperial army was bifurcated into two distinct entities, the Astra Militarum and the Imperial Navy. The once inseparable bond between these two functions now permanently severed in order to prevent future treachery on such a scale. In this new era of vigilance and distrust, the Astra Militarum's commanders found themselves bereft of authority over the Imperial Navy. Their partners in conquest now held at arm's length, bound by the chains of regulation and oversight, as they were once again vowed to safeguard the Imperium from the specter of betrayal, ever mindful of the lessons which had been learned during the heresy, lest they be repeated again in the dark days yet to come. The Astra Militarum was also split further, its vast legions restructured into planetary-sized formations known as Militarum Regimentus. These formations would be overseen by the stern gaze of commissars from the Officio Perfectus, such as Commissar Caiaphas Cain, as the commissars would now stand as a true bulwarks against the encroaching darkness which could turn the loyalty and discipline of humanity's greatest defenders against itself. Yet perhaps the most pivotal change came from the stripping of the combined arms doctrine that had made the Astra Militarum so efficient. Now there would be multiple choke points which would stop the spread of heresy or any form of betrayal before it could become an interplanetary issue. Any treachery would be contained to a single world, and likely to a single continent. Likewise, should any fleet succumb to mutiny, its ability to resupply and deploy ground forces would be so severely cut that it would be rendered impotent against the might of the Imperium as a whole. It was due to the Horus Heresy that the Imperium would vow never to be caught unawares again by the machinations of traitors or heretics. Thus, a labyrinthian structure of governance would be waived in order to wield authority and place responsibility across multiple segments of the Imperium in order to prevent traitors within the Astra Militarum. At the forefront of this hierarchy of standards is the Departamento Munitorum, the bureaucratic engine that fuels the war machines of the Imperium, who are tasked with the monumental duty of supplying, equipping, and training countless legions of Astra Militarum. The Departamento Munitorum wields such immense influence that it has 3 seats on the Council of the High Lords of Terra, which serves as a testament to the importance and power derived from the Departamento Militarum. Yet the true heartbeat of the Astra Militarum proper lies within its command structure, which itself is a complex network of officers and tacticians who orchestrate the ebb and flow of the battle from the rear echelons. At the apex of this structure sits the Commander Militant of the Imperial Guard, a towering figure whose authority extends across the stars, shaping the course of multiple wars with a mere word. However, to prevent the concentration of power to becoming too much, beneath him there are multiple Lord Commanders of Segmentums, each wielding authority over their own respective domains, overseeing the deployment of the Imperial Guard forces within their segmentum. Though theoretically they are bound by the directives of the High Lords directly, the practicalities of active command in war zones will often necessitate the decentralization of power and decision-making. Largely, these commanders must trust the officers lower down on the chain of command to assume greater and greater responsibilities still. In this intricate dance of power and influence, the Imperium has found a way to minimize any and all threats by the Astra Militarum itself, even when certain figures will stand out as titans amongst men. War masters appointed by the High Lords of Terra themselves command the might of entire crusades, marshalling resources from across sectors in order to prosecute campaigns of unparalleled scale or scope. Yet even these exalted figures pale in comparison to the Lord Generals Militant, whose authority knows few bounds, and each are charged with the command of entire battle groups of Imperial regiments. These formidable leaders are the linchpin in the Imperium's military might, their word carrying the weight of untold billions. Amidst this pantheon stands the General Staff, a generally silent but essential presence, as its officers act as conduits between the lofty heights of the command structure and the gritty realities of the battlefield, serving as yet another potential choke point in the case of betrayal. From Lord Generals to Marshals, their expertise and guidance may shape the course of history or may be curtailed, ensuring that the Imperium's enemies may be vanquished, including those from within. In order to provide a more synergistic use of resources, regimental officers will often hail from the same planet as the troops they lead, and will be in charge of assuming command at the inception of the regiment's formation. Many will rise from the ranks of the Planetary Defense Forces for their leadership due to it being honed and garnering respect in the crucible of local conflicts. In some cases, officers will even emerge from the ranks of hive-world gangs, their authority born from the very underworld's unending strife. Amongst the ranks of regimental officers, certain titles will stand out. Such titles include Castellans. Though their exact role may vary, they are often those who will wield a significant amount of authority over one or more regiments. Colonels will uphold the tradition of commanding officers of the regiments and occupy positions of singular importance, their decisions shaping the fortunes of entire battles and campaigns. Majors, on the other hand, serve as second in command and will provide support to their superiors, all the while captains will lead units in combat. Tank commanders, on the other hand, are specially trained masters of armored warfare and guide squadrons of battle tanks, along with the infantry that they are attached to, with precision and expertise. Lieutenants, though the most junior of officers on the battlefield, will often bear the weight of leadership the hardest, needing to show both courage and resolve at all times, allowing their commanders to lead the platoons through them and direct the flow of battle. Yet even as regimental officers lead from the front, the Astra Militarum's broader structures remain a testament to the logistical complexities inbuilt in order to deter any large-scale traitorous actions. Each regiment will be raised from a single world with its own distinct cultures and traditions, keeping it semi-segregated from others, forming the bedrock of Imperial Guard formations, as recruits will train during their transits to their assigned postings, creating an even stronger bond between each individual regiment, whether they are assigned to the heart of a war zone or the relative safety of garrison duty. Unlike their counterparts in the vaunted Space Marine chapters, the Astra Militarum regiments will receive no further reinforcements after their formation. This is in part due to the logistical challenges of transporting soldiers across vast distances, often precluding the replenishment of depleted ranks in a singular unit. Now, while they may be dissolved and moved into other units, said unit will likely not be re-established as it once was, though there are special considerations for particularly effective regiments, and in particular cases where regiments face constant attrition. Mergers with understrength units will often occur in order to maintain combat effectiveness. This will more often than not lead to the creation of something titled a mongrel unit, composed of troops from disparate worlds with differing equipment, and whose training will often clash. But despite any issues with synergy, they are expected to accomplish the mission. Yet amidst the realities of war, there exists the glimmer of hope for a future. Surviving regiments may eventually have their ranks replenished with what is known as probates or white shields, drawn from the offsprings of guardsmen raised within these regiments. These new recruits will undergo rigorous training to identify with the regiment they have now joined as they become fully fledged guardsmen. However, for many regiments, the specter of full annihilation is ever present. Depleted by casualties and without reinforcements, these valiant formations will eventually meet their end on the battlefield or be mustered out for meritorious service. Yet in their sacrifice, they embody the indomitable spirit of the Imperium as they fight the ever-encroaching darkness of the galaxy. Within the ranks of countless regiments scattered across the stars and the deployments on varied worlds, the structure of a regiment will roughly follow a similar structure, one which is typically led by a colonel, as the regiment is then divided into companies, each commanded by a captain, and then the company will be further subdivided into platoons, led by lieutenants. Yet the precise terminology and composition of these units, along with the amount of troops within each unit, will vary widely between each regiment, to the point that the standard considerations of this terminology are often of little use. Behind the scenes, regimental headquarters will serve as nerve centers for command and coordination, and they are almost always advised by staff drawn from the regiment, but sometimes they may import them from various administrative departments. Even within these structures, the individuals within them will be subdivided into specialized sections, each with its own designated duties, and maintained separate in order to smooth out operations within the regiment while not risking a complete betrayal from the entirety of the regiment. Operations sections will often be commanded by the regiment's second-in-command and designated to issue field orders and command preparations for battle, while the intelligence section is authorized to collect and analyze information about enemy forces regardless of what they may be. The Communications and Signals section oversees all communications, maintaining contact with subunits at all times, along with High Command and non-Imperial Guard units operating in the theater. Meanwhile, the Transport and Supply section of this command structure ensures the logistical support of the regiment, coordinating transportation and resupply by the Departamento Munitorum. In terms of combat, it regulates the regiment's rear echelon, providing security and supply depots, along with guaranteeing the lines of communication remain open at all times. The Statistics and Administration section will manage all personal matters and record keeping within the regiments, maintaining tabs on the organization, equipment, along with its individual troops tasked with preserving the regiment's history. Alongside these essential functions, non-combat units, such as medical companies, will play an active role in supporting the regiment's frontline troops, supplying medications and aid stations to treat the wounded and get them battle ready as quickly as humanly possible. These units are tasked with ensuring the guardsmen's well-being and ability to continue operations in the heart of battle. Another point where regiments may differ are regimental specializations. There are a myriad of regiments designed to excel in particular tasks. The more common ones are broken down as such. Armored regiments are the revered hammer of the Imperial Guard, and field formidable arrays of armor such as the Lehman Russ battle tank, the Dorn battle tank, and other armored vehicles. They are designed to embody the raw power of mechanized warfare and be as devoid of direct organic infantry as possible in the rank's infrastructure itself, as they rely on the ironclad might of the Imperium to crush any foe that opposes them. In stark contrast to this are artillery regiments, which are tasked with unleashing devastating barrages from afar in order to rain down destruction upon enemy positions with lethal ordnance. These regiments are often supplemented or used to supplement infantry as they excel in providing long-range support to their comrades in arms. Drop regiments contrast further still, as they are designed to descend from the heavens and strike fear into the hearts of the enemies of humanity with lightning-fast assaults. These units will be relatively lightly armored and often equipped with grab chutes and airborne vehicles. These elite troops are used as a spearhead on daring missions behind enemy lines, and will secure vital objectives with unmatched speed and agility. There are also heavy infantry regiments which march into battle clad in their formidable armor, their ranks bristling with plasma weaponry along with other advanced arms. They are renowned for their resilience and their indiscriminate ability to lay down firepower, as they form the indomitable backbone of the Imperial Guard's infantry forces. There are also the renowned hunter-killer regiments, who are seemingly driven by their thirst for glory, despite being crucial for the continuation of any long-term campaigns, as they deploy in lightly armored vehicles with rather potent weaponry in order to eliminate high-priority targets with surgical precision, cutting off the head of the snake and allowing the rest of the Imperial Guard to mop up their now disoriented enemies. However, their daring exploits will often earn them a reputation as audacious mavericks amongst their peers. Meanwhile, light infantry regiments are designed to excel in stealth and reconnaissance, being trained as experts in traversing treacherous terrain in order to strike from the shadows with deadly accuracy. Though lacking in any heavy weaponry, their swift and silent operations make them invaluable assets in covert missions. Now, the quintessential heart of the Imperial Guard are line infantry regiments. They are quintessential to the Imperial Guard's ethos, as they combine firepower and maneuverability perfectly, embodying the epitome of frontline combat. They are versatile and adaptable, as they form the bedrock of the Imperial Guard's ground forces, their ranks being drawn from countless worlds, ensuring that the endless lasfire of the Imperial Guard continues to rain down upon the enemies of mankind. Mechanized infantry regiments, on the other hand, meld infantry with mechanized firepower by focusing on the use of a wealth of vehicles such as the Chimera as transports and offensive tools to support their swift assaults. They will often be deployed alongside armored regiments in order to provide crucial mobility and sustained fire support upon the battlefield. Reconnaissance regiments are characterized by their daring autonomy, as they are set to operate well ahead of the main army's formation, gathering intelligence and striking vulnerable positions whenever the opportunity arises. Unfortunately, this has led to the reputation of these regiments being undisciplined, even though their bold actions often yield vital information and create crucial inroads for Imperial victories. There are also siege regiments, which are designated to wield heavy artillery and man heavily fortified positions in order to lay siege to enemy strongholds for potentially years to decades on end, with the emphasis of these regiments focusing on both endurance and heavy firepower. Unlike traditional artillery regiments, they are not designated to primarily provide fire support for their comrades in arms. Rather, they are to eliminate any entrenched foes with extreme prejudice. And amidst the array of specialized regiments, there are abhuman regiments. These stand as a testament to the magnanimous nature of the Imperium, all the while best utilizing the diversity of humanity's many abhuman strains, drawing upon their unique talents and abilities to bolster the ranks of the Imperial Guard. Most recognizable within these ranks are Ratlings and Ogrins. As we conclude the first entry in our exploration of the Imperial Guard, One thing is abundantly clear. The Imperium's strength lies not only in its vast armies, but in the diversity and adaptability of its fighting forces. From the armed juggernauts of armored regiments to the stealthy hunters of the light infantry, each regiment brings its own unique skills and strengths to the battlefield, all united in the service of the Emperor and the defense of humanity. Such is the glory of the Astra Militarum.